You're listening to The Philosopher's Note on the science of getting rich. More wisdom in less time.
Hi, this is Brian. Welcome to The Philosopher's Notes on the Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. We'll start with a quote from Wallace. Quote, "There is a science of getting rich, and it is an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic. There are certain laws which govern the process of acquiring riches, and once these laws are learned and obeyed by anyone, that person will get rich with mathematical certainty." End quote. The Science of Getting Rich. I have to say the title scared me away from this little book/essay for a while. Then I pretty much got over myself and jumped in, and I'm thrilled I did. There's a lot of great stuff in this little book. And Wallace is a pretty fascinating writer. He reminds me of a mix between James Allen, who wrote As a Man Thinketh, and Ralph Waldo Emerson, whose favorite essay of mine is Self-Reliance. With the caveat of, in this essay, Wallace Wattles is focused like a laser beam on how to create wealth, aka getting rich. So if you'd like to align with the infinite flow of abundance in your life, this is definitely worth a read. The essay is only 30 pages long, and you can get it for free in the members section of philosophersnotes.com. And the fact is that all 30 pages are essentially one long quote. For now, let's look at some of my favorite big ideas, and I will encourage you to explore the essay deeper when you have some time. Let's start with the logic of why you should get rich. So here's the basic logic of the book. First, quote, "You can render to God and humanity no greater service than to make the most of yourself." End quote. That's simple enough. The greatest way you can serve God and the world is to make the most of yourself. That totally works for me. It echoes one of my favorite thoughts from Abraham Maslow, who said, "What one can be, one must be." Clearly, the greater we are, the greater we can serve. I think we'd agree on that. All right, so if we agree on that point, that begs the question, what do we need in order to make the most of ourselves? And Wattles offers, quote, "Whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete or successful life unless one is rich. No man can rise to his greatest possible height in talent or soul development unless he has plenty of money. For to unfold the soul and to develop talent, he must have many things to use, and he cannot have these things unless he has money to buy them with." End quote. All right, that seems simple enough to me as well. If you want to reach your highest potential, you need money. That sounds pretty reasonable to me. And you may say, but what about Gandhi? He was poor, or Mother Teresa certainly wasn't concerned about money. And those would be fair comments, and I used to think pretty much the same thing. But the fact is, it took a lot of money for both those people to keep their organizations running. I remember hearing a great quote, something along the lines of a wealthy industrialist who supported Gandhi made the remark, "It cost me a fortune to keep Gandhi poor." And I love that. Think about it. Do you really think Gandhi or Mother Teresa could run their organizations with no money? It's impossible. Millions and millions of dollars flowed through their organizations every year to enable them to have the impact they did. Although they chose to personally renounce material pleasures, they certainly did not reject money. So we're back to the conclusion that we need money to reach our highest potential. Then Wattles ties the facts that 1, we can best serve the world by living at our highest potential, with 2, we can only live at our highest potential if we're rich, to conclude that, in effect, we have a moral obligation to become rich. He says, quote, "The purpose of nature is the advancement and unfoldment of life, and every man should have all that can contribute to the power, elegance, beauty, and richness of life. To be content with less is sinful." End quote. Well, I have to say that works for me as well. And not being the kind of guy who likes to violate logic or moral obligations, I'd agree that to be content with less than living at our best and attaining the resources to do so, aka getting rich, is in fact sinful. How about you? And how about one more quote from Wallace on this subject? He says, "What he," meaning God, "wants is that you should make the most of yourself, for yourself and for others. And you can help others more by making the most of yourself than in any other way. You can make the most of yourself only by getting rich. So it is right and praiseworthy that you should give your first and best thought to the work of acquiring wealth." End quote. The next big idea is seeds and becoming more. Quote, a seed dropped into the ground springs into activity, and in the act of living produces 100 more seeds. Life, by living, multiplies itself. It is forever becoming more. It must do so if it continues to be at all. End quote. Amen. That's beautiful. Imagine that. A seed planted into the ground springs to life. And as it does so, the mere act of living produces 100 more seeds, which then spring to life as well. As Wattles says, life, by living, multiplies itself. I like to think of the seeds that I'm planting in my life, seeds of love, kindness, generosity, creativity, inspiration. Knowing that as I plant these seeds within my own life, I have the potential to produce 100 more seeds in other people's lives, which will then produce 100 more seeds, and they in turn, of course, have the potential to produce 100 more seeds. And the process goes on and on and on. And this, I believe, is how we change the world. It starts with the most simple moment-to-moment behaviors and speaks to the eternally poignant truth of Gandhi's wisdom that if we wish to change the world, we must first be the change we want to see. How about you? What seeds are you planting? As you know, the process works both ways. Plant anger, frustration, rudeness, pettiness, competitiveness, aggression, and you plant seeds that will also produce more of their kind. Want proof of that? Just turn on the news. The challenge and call is simple. Let's plant the seeds within ourselves that we wish to see multiply in our lives and in our world. And another quote from Wallace. Quote, it is the natural and inherent impulse of life to seek to live more. It is the nature of intelligence to enlarge itself, and of consciousness to seek to extend its boundaries and find fuller expression. End quote. And as you become more and more, remember the next big idea, become a creator, not a competitor. Quote, you are to become a creator, not a competitor. You are going to get what you want, but in such a way that when you get it, every other man will have more than he has now. End quote. I love this distinction, creator or a competitor. Imagine choosing to live from a place of pure creativity, where we go inside and offer the world what is best within us, independent of a need to view the world through a zero-sum lens, where for me to gain, you must lose. Rather, we create from a place of joy and overflow, having fun as we give our gifts to the world, creating incredible value as we serve as true creators. Can you feel that? Now imagine choosing to live from a place of pure competitive energy, where we see the world through a narrow, competitive, zero-sum lens, a world in which if you win, I must lose, and for me to win, you must lose. How's that feel? I don't know about you, but I can actually feel a difference in my body's energy when I imagine the two. Like I'm heating up inside when I imagine the competitive lens. Whereas, when I imagine the pure creative flow, I feel a lightness and a joy. Feel into that. And obviously, we live in a world where products and services compete with one another in the marketplace. That's a given. However, we do not need to be competitive. We need to create. Rather than investing all of our energy into worrying about barriers to entry and outmaneuvering our competitors, why not simply create? Simply show up every day and seek to create value in the world through exceptional service and a heartfelt desire to give our best to the world, day in and day out. As we do so, quite simply, we are bound to be successful. And a little PS on this subject. Did you know the word compete comes from the Latin competere and means to aim at, to seek together, not against, but together. Fascinating stuff. All right, so if in order to create we must fully express ourselves, that begs the question of the next big idea, what do you like? Quote, it is true that you will do best in a business which you like and which is congenial to you. And if you have certain talents which are well developed, you will do best in a business which calls for the exercise of those talents. End quote. It sounds obvious, and well, it is obvious, but have you spent any time really looking at what you love to do and what you're best at, and whether your current position is really making full use of your capacities? Martin Seligman, the author of Authentic Happiness, defined the science of happiness in similar terms. According to his research, we need to discover our signature strengths and use them often in our day-to-day lives. We do this and we have more significant, sustained levels of happiness. Throw in using our strengths for something bigger than ourselves, and voila, we have a meaningful life. How about you? What are you best at? What do you love to do? Does your highest self get to play with you at work every day? If yes, how can you express and give yourself even more? If no, what can you do to change that? And remember, quote, it is essential, however, that your purpose should harmonize with the purpose that is in all. End quote. Plus, we got to live with the next big idea, gratitude. Quote, first, you believe that there is one intelligent substance from which all things proceed. Second, you believe that this substance gives you everything you desire. And third, you relate yourself to it by a feeling of deep and profound gratitude. End quote. Gratitude. As Wattles says, quote, you cannot exercise much power without gratitude, for it is gratitude that keeps you connected with power. End quote. Let's get right to the point. What are you grateful for? Who are you blessed to have in your life right now? Who has supported you in achieving all that you have achieved in your life so far? What material things do you have in your life that you're grateful for? Your house, your car, your toilet? And let's remember that it wasn't that long ago that the wealthiest person alive didn't have 99% of what we have. So let's not take the incredible luxuries we have for granted, eh? All right, so let's actually pause for a moment and I'll ask you, what are 10 things you can choose to be grateful for right now? 10 different things that you're grateful for. You can press pause on this right now and think about 10 things that you're grateful for, whether you're running or driving or whatever. Just press pause and go through and count out 10 things that you're just absolutely grateful to have in your life right now. And in the PDF, you'll see that there are actually places where you can write this down. All right, so you're pressing pause now. Thank you. All right, if we are back, that means that you have come up with 10 things that you are grateful for, I trust. All right, now meditate on these things every day throughout the day. It's scientifically impossible to be both grateful and depressed at the same time. Seems like a no-brainer decision to me to focus more energy on being grateful. All right, and Wattles says, quote, it is necessary then to cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you, and to give thanks continuously. And because all things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude. End quote. I love that. So now that we've captured some of the wonderful, quote, positive things in your list of things to be grateful for, how about another list of all the challenges you've had in your life? Can you see how these challenges have shaped you and that without them, you wouldn't be who you are? And therefore, you should be grateful for them? This list can range from... So this list should range from, and can range from, the guy who cut you off on your way to work today, to whom you feel gratitude because he provided a reminder of how you don't want to show up, to the relationship that ended, maybe painfully, but opened up the space for you to get to know yourself better and to create new and more empowering relationships. So, what are 5 challenging things in your life that have contributed to your advancement that you can include in your gratitude? Again, why don't you pause for a moment and think about 5 things for which you have gratitude, some of the more challenging things that have shaped your life in a positive way that you can really be grateful for. And again, in the PDF, I have a place where you can write this down. But go ahead and press pause and think of 5 challenging things that you are grateful for. All right, I trust you did that. And we'll end this section with another quote from Wattles. Quote, you want to be rich in order that you may eat, drink, and be merry when it is time to do these things, in order that you may surround yourself with beautiful things, see distant lands, feed your mind, and develop your intellect, in order that you may love men and do kind things, and be able to play a good part in helping the world to find truth. Amen. All right, the next big idea is vision and faith. Quote, in order to get rich, you do not need a sweet hour of prayer. You need to pray without ceasing. And by prayer, I mean holding steadily to your vision with the purpose to cause its creation into solid form and the faith that you are doing so. So, what do you want to create? Wattles is clear that you need to get clear on what you intend to create. And you can't hold the vision for a few minutes a day or a week or whatever. Your prayer needs to be ceaseless, maintaining your faith and purpose as you, very importantly, take action which is the next big idea, taking action. Quote, man must pass from the competitive to the creative mind. He must form a clear mental picture of the things he wants and do with faith and purpose all that can be done each day, doing each separate thing in an efficient manner. End quote. The final and ultimately most important step in the science of getting rich, action. As Wattles says, quote, do not give your creative impulse to original substance and then sit down and wait for results. If you do, you will never get them. Act now. There is never any time but now, and there will never be any time but now. If you are ever to begin to make ready for the reception of what you want, you must begin now. End quote. So, we simply cannot hold a strong intention long enough and have things magically appear. Hate to break it to you, but that's not how the universe works, and I trust you already know that. We need to show up. We need to, as Wattles says, more than fill our current position. As we do all that needs to be done today in the most efficient, purposeful manner possible. We do that, and we've turned the final key in unlocking our financial potential. So, I wrap up this note with a wish to creating abundance in every aspect of our lives. And now we'll look at a little bit about the author, some of the other notes I think you'll really enjoy, and go through some of the quotes on the left sidebar from the PDF. All right, about the author of The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace D. Wattles. He was born in 1860 and lived till 1911. He was a pioneer success writer. Although somewhat obscure, he's best known for The Science of Getting Rich, and he claimed to have personally tested the principles he describes, and they apparently worked, for although he had lived most of his life in poverty, in his later years he was a prosperous man. And that's adapted from Wikipedia, where you can learn more. You can also download The Science of Getting Rich in the members section of the site, as well as another great essay called The Science of Being Great, which I highly recommend as well. All right, so some other notes I think you'll enjoy. The philosopher's notes on spiritual economics and the secrets of the millionaire mind, as well as It's Not About the Money and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So we kind of have a little collection of conscious wealth creation with those titles. I think you'll also dig Ralph Waldo Emerson and the philosopher's notes on As a Man Thinketh, The Magic of Thinking Big, and 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. All right, let's take a look at those quotes. We'll start with, to do things in a way you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. This is the first step toward getting rich. That's by Wallace Wattles, and actually all of these quotes are by Wallace. The next one, every living thing must continually seek for the enlargement of its life, because life, in the mere act of living, must increase itself. Get rich. That is the best way you can help the poor. A man's highest happiness is found in the bestowal of benefits on those he loves. Love finds its most natural and spontaneous expression in giving. There is never any hurry on the creative plane, and there is no lack of opportunity. The answer to your prayer is not according to your faith while you are talking, but according to your faith while you are working. You must form a clear and definite mental picture of what you want. You cannot impress the mind of God by having a special Sabbath day set apart to tell him what you want, and then forgetting him the rest of the week. Wherever there is unexpressed possibility or function not performed, there is unsatisfied desire. Desire is possibility seeking expression, or function seeking performance. If a doubt comes, cast it aside as a sin. And finally, every day is either a successful day or a failure, and it is the successful days which get you what you want. If every day is a failure, you can never get rich, while if every day is a success, you cannot fail to get rich. On that note, I wish you a successful day and many, many, many successful days in the future. Appreciate you listening and look forward to sharing more. Have a great day.
We hope you enjoyed this Philosopher's Note. please go to www.philosophersnotes.com to download more.